Imagine waking up as a goblin and later becoming so overpowered that Thanos would snap, and you'd still be around. Well, you don't have to imagine, as this series is just that. Everything starts on a dark, stormy night. This night is different because the dark moon claims the life of a very strong person named Kanata. A woman stabs him over and over, trying to make sure he dies. As he is dying, Kanata thinks about his past life. He realizes that his name isn't important anymore, but he knows this night will be his last. The woman is determined to kill him. She says his name and tells him he's going to die. No one can be stabbed like that and not be close to death. Kanata is surprised the next day when he finds out he's still alive, but not as a human. It's his first day being reborn, and when he opens his eyes, he sees a green, ugly creature that turns out to be a goblin. The elder goblin looks at him and tries to think of a name. He once named a goblin born on the same day Kichi, so he can't use that name again. He decides to name Kanata Ru. Kanata, now Ru, is upset about the simple name he's been given. He can't move his body or legs, but he knows he's alive. If this is a second chance at life, he's ready to take it. He closes his eyes and then wakes up on his second day of being reborn. Looking around, he sees several green, ugly children. When he looks at his hands, he realizes he's become one of them because he's now been reborn as a goblin. This new reality makes him cry. He feels weak and helpless, but eventually he stops crying. Instead of feeling sorry for himself like you do on a daily basis, yes, he resolves to become the greatest ugly thing to walk the earth. The next day, he wakes up feeling stronger and can walk. He realizes that goblins grow up fast. The elder goblin comes back and gives them food, saying it's the last meal he'll give them and that no Jesus will multiply it. From now on, they have to find their own food. On day 3, Ru leaves the cave and sees the sun. He's happy to be alive, even though this life isn't what he wanted or what he had before. It's a second chance, and he promises himself he'll make it this time. He doesn't know how to find food and notices the sun and sky look different. This life isn't what he's used to, and he knows he needs a friend to help him through it. Rao turns around and sees another young goblin named Kichi. He asks Kichi if he's also looking for food. He then decides to team up with Gobkichi to use his size to hunt their meals. It's unfortunate that he's stupid as a bag of rocks, so Rao makes him chase a unicorn rabbit type thing while he jumps from a tree to kill it with his juicy rod. Ru brags about their win and breaks off the horn of the rabbit to use it as a weapon. Rao had invited another goblin, Gabi, to join them for hunting, but unfortunately, it rains the next day, which is day 5, so they can't go hunting. On day 6, Ru goes out to hunt and brings a piece of metal to make into a weapon. They repeat the chase and kill routine, and as they feast, a voice echoes that he has activated the escape skill, and it reminds him of his former life. It seems he was born with the absorption ability, which allowed him to feast on anything from iron to gold, down to poison, and he would get the traits of whatever he eats. Unfortunately, his IQ couldn't increase no matter how many brains he ate. While hunting, he sees some women who are prisoners and feels sorry for them. On day 7, he starts making his weapon from the metal. The elder goblin Gobchi, who had given him a simple name, comes to see him and praises his skill. Gogchi tells him that if he keeps improving, he might level up quickly. He asks Ru if he knows his current level and tells him to tap his head to check. When Rao taps his head to check, he finds out he's at level 86. Gogchi says that if Rao reaches level 100, he can move up to the next level, but only a few goblins manage to do that so quickly. As Gobchi walks away, he shares that the older goblins, known as hobgoblins, will be back from their city trip for food tomorrow. He's eager to see what they'll bring on the 8th day. On that day, Ru's new friend, Mi, helps him hunt crimson snakes in the forest. They plan to attack from all sides. First, they throw a rock at the snakes from a tree, then Kichi hits them with a stick. With Kichi up front, Mai supporting, and Ru in the middle, they easily catch snakes and raccoons. After hunting, they skin the snakes right away and savor the tasty meat, which Gabi finds heavenly. Her hungry ass bursts into tears because she's only ever had worms before and thanks Rao for including her in his group. Upon sampling the serpentine delicacy, Ru discovers that his palate is not the only thing that has been enriched. He has also acquired a quintet of new abilities. These include the capacity to perceive heat signatures, the production and immunity to venom, the skill to track prey, and a gaze so formidable it could quell the fiercest of adversaries. The realization that their fallen foe was a creature of considerable might fills Ru with a sense of pride in their triumph. Kichi, ever eager, expresses a desire to consume the cranium of the serpent. However, Ru, exercising prudence, declines his request. He asserts that the head harbors toxins and instead consumes it himself, demonstrating his dominance and resilience. In the ensuing days, Ro and his companions do not rest on their laurels. They persist in their pursuit of prey and refine their tools of the hunt. hunt, their proficiency blossoms to such an extent that they venture into the subterranean depths with valor. Their exploration leads them to a cavern teeming with Chiropteron fury. In a stroke of fortune, they manage to evade the winged wrath and emerge unscathed. Upon their exodus from the cave, Kichi brandishes his newly forged shield in defense of Rue, their vanguard. Rue engages in combat with the bats, dispatching them with swift strikes and immobilizing them with his newly acquired petrifying stare. Their audacious strategy culminates in a resounding victory as they eradicate the bat population and indulge in a celebratory feast. The consumption of their winged quarry endows Rue with an array of novel skills, including echolocation, vamp up, and Villia. These newfound abilities fill him with elation over the fruitful outcome of their expedition. Meanwhile, back at their abode, envy brews among the other goblins as they witness Rue and his team reveling in their sumptuous spoils. In contrast, they are relegated to a diet of mere worms. Despite their longing for a taste of the feast, they are too timid to voice their desires and can only salivate in silence as they observe the feasting. On the 12th night, 6 envious goblins try to attack Rao while he's sleeping, thinking they can take his food if he's gone. But that plan doesn't make sense because then there would be no one to get more food. Goblins don't always think things through. However, Ro isn't easily beaten. He feels their bad intentions with his tracking skill and beats all 6 by himself. Mai wakes up because of the noise and joins in, ready to fight her own kind, and almost chokes out one of them. But Rue stops her just in time, telling her they've learned their lesson. The next day, Ro and his friends attack an orc who was just doing his own thing and defeat him. This gives Rue new orc skills like strong desire, orc language, and the ability to detect and analyze. Then they go hunting again. This time, Rue gives all the food to the goblin house to win their support. By helping the needy in this new world, Rue feels really good and sleeps well for the first time. But his sleep is interrupted when the system tells him he's changing into a hobgoblin. This evolution comes with a special gift from the grand god of demise and origin, but Rue sleeps through the notification. Rue awakens to a startling revelation. His stature has significantly increased, and he observes that Kichi, too, has undergone a transformation into a hobgoblin. They stand in awe of their rapid maturation, having blossomed into adulthood in a mere fortnight. Even Gaji, typically unflappable, is taken aback by the swift progression of their evolution. With a newfound sense of vigor, Ro proposes that they embark on a hunt to gauge the extent of their enhanced capabilities. However, Kichi, brimming with competitive spirit, puts forth an alternative proposition, a duel to ascertain the magnitude of their newfound strength. The clash ensues with ferocious exchanges, yet it becomes evident that Rao possesses the upper hand. Amidst their sparring, Rue's attention is captured by the distant howl of a wolf. His instincts flare, perceiving an imminent threat. He promptly instructs Mai to retrieve their recently crafted crossbow. Their reconnaissance reveals that wolves are on the prowl, preying on wild rabbits, and even daring to assault orcs. Yet Rue remains undaunted by these lupine predators. He is eager to confront them and assess his own prowess. He orchestrates their strategy, directing me to target the alpha of the wolf pack with the crossbow. As Rue and Kichi engage in a tactical diversion, they execute their plan flawlessly, vanquishing the wolves without sustaining any injuries. The pack leader mounts a valiant defense, but is ultimately overpowered by Rue's superior might. In triumph, Rue acquires new competencies such as military leadership. Triumphant, Rue returns to their dwelling with the spoils of their conquest, the fallen wolves, and imparts a decree to his kin. They must emulate his hunting endeavors daily to foster self-reliance and not depend solely on him. Initially clueless about the art of the hunt, they beseech Rue for guidance. After some coaxing, he concedes and commits to imparting his knowledge of hunting and weapon crafting. This act of mentorship cements his status as the revered chieftain of all goblins. In the wake of their rigorous training, the goblins witnessed a marked improvement in their abilities. But there was also something else he noticed. It wasn't just him and Kichi that grew. Now Mai is developing into an older, sexier being, making Rue feel all sorts of ways freaky about her. On the 17th sunrise of Rue's existence within the goblin fold, he was met with a somber discovery. The human women who had been confined within a cavern prior to his emergence into this world had succumbed to mortality. With haste, he relayed this grim news to the venerable Grandpa Gaji, and together they conducted a ceremonial pyre to pay homage to the departed souls. Rao grappled with the notion that humans could inflict such fate upon their own kind, while Ro, with a deeper understanding, contemplated the possibility possibility that they may have sought solace in a tranquil demise. Despite the weight of this event, life's relentless march beckoned, and Rue heeded its call. By the 26th day, Rue had resumed his role as the drill master of his Goblin Legion, now spearheaded by a young female named Go. They pursued physical excellence with fervor, each stride propelling them towards greater strength. Rao embraced the mantle of their guardian and mentor, ensuring their continuous progression and evolution. Concurrently, he honed his own might and scoured the forest in pursuit of novel skills to master. As Gao's repertoire of skills burgeoned and his confidence swelled, he returned to his tutelage of the goblins. Abruptly, their session was interrupted by the arrival of a contingent of hobgoblins. Rue's initial instinct was to brace for conflict, suspecting them to be adversaries due to their goblin lineage. He poised himself for combat, brandishing his blade. However, Mai interjected with a revelation. These hobgoblins were kin, seasoned hunters of their clan who had been absent for the duration of the month, thus unbeknownst to Rue. The prospect that one among them could be his biological progenitor struck Rao with a pang of remorse for his precipitous inclination towards hostility. Upon their return, the seasoned hunters bore the spoils of their ventures, abundant provisions and various artifacts pilfered from human settlements, evidence of their marauding escapades. These veterans, belonging to an era preceding Rue's, scarcely acknowledged his presence, their attention confined to their own discourse. Gao, however, was undeterred by their disregard. His curiosity was piqued by the bounty they had seized. Amongst their loot were young human women, ensnared and brought back either as prisoners or, more dishearteningly, as chattel. A goblin among the raiders referred to the captives as a prized haul and appeared poised to inflict harm upon them. Rue elucidates the grim rationale behind these abductions. The robust nature of goblin genetics ensures that any progeny sired with other species would inherit the pure goblin lineage. Thus, these 5 women were destined to be subjugated into perpetuating their captor's bloodline. Gao, whose origins lay in humanity, found himself at odds with this barbaric tradition. His conscience impelled him to shield the women from such a fate. Aware of the peril that defying his clan could invite, Rue devised a stratagem. He approached the raiding party's chieftain with a proposition to assume personal guardianship over the human women. The leader's reaction was one of ire, inciting tension that rippled through Gao's comrades as they braced themselves to defend him from any ensuing conflict. In the midst of escalating tension, the arrival of a goblin elder with silvery locks, known as Hobsi, alongside a skilled goblin mage named Hobsato, brings a sudden hush over the crowd. With wisdom in their voices, they impart that internal strife is not the solution they seek, acknowledging the inherent belligerence of their kind, which makes a peaceful resolution unlikely. Hobse proposes an alternative. Let the chieftains of the old and new guard duel it out. The stakes are high. The victor will have the authority to dictate the course of action for all. This suggestion is met with unanimous approval, leading to an intense showdown devoid of any weaponry. The battle is swift and decisive, with Rose showcasing superior combat prowess and swiftly overpowering the leader of the preceding generation, thus claiming victory. In the aftermath of the duel, Gobji, with a furrowed brow, levels an accusation at Rue, claiming underhanded tactics were employed due to the presence of spider threads during their weaponless combat. However, Rue counters this claim with a calm explanation. The spider threads are an intrinsic part of his being, akin to the abilities of Spider-Man. He reveals that this unique power was bestowed upon him after consuming a formidable arachnid creature of the forest. The origins of his ability remain a mystery to the onlookers, leading them to perceive Rue as an extraordinary individual endowed with remarkable talents. With Rue's honorable victory in the duel, he ascends to the role of village leader, a position that grants him the authority to enact his will. He swiftly exercises this newfound power, issuing a decree that ensures the safety of the human women who have been captured, forbidding any harm to befall them. He reassures the women of their protection and reveals his intention to arrange for their return to a human settlement in the near future. Amidst this turn of events, the woman with fiery red locks finds herself grappling with bewilderment. She ponders over Roe's unexpected benevolence, questioning the motives behind his merciful actions so soon after their capture, and wonders what he might desire in return. Roe articulates his desire for the women to be more than mere mere idle captives. He envisions them as valuable sources of insight into the human realm. Through conversation, he uncovers their past. They were enterprising merchants journeying towards a distant city, their path abruptly interrupted by a goblin ambush. The knights sworn to protect the merchants fell under the goblins' might, leaving only 5 women who survived the onslaught. These women were then taken with the grim intent of expanding the goblin lineage. Rue harbors a sense of empathy for the tribulations endured by the women, yet he consciously restrains his emotions, cautious not to exhibit overly human tendencies. The remainder of the day unfolds without incident, leading the narrative to dawn upon the following day. Gabu arrives bearing breakfast for the human women, who now exhibit a semblance of joy. Rue observes their newfound smiles and laughter, recognizing it as their means of resilience amidst challenging circumstances. He watches them eat, gradually gaining a deeper understanding of each one. The energetic girl is highly skilled in raising animals and blacksmithing, demonstrating a natural talent in both areas. The twin sisters, with their complementary skills, excel not only in cooking, but also in making clothes, displaying a remarkable versatility. The girl with glasses, although an alchemist, lacks an engaging personality and tends to be overlooked, while the redhead stands out as a promising new warrior, eager to prove herself. After acquainting himself with their abilities, Rue takes on the responsibility of training all the goblins, including the more experienced older ones. These senior goblins, unused to such intensive training, quickly find themselves exhausted. Despite their fatigue, Rue pushes them to persist, refusing to let them give up easily and maintaining a rigorous training schedule. Over the course of several days, even the older goblins, who were initially resistant to their new leader, start to show signs of improvement in their behavior, making Rue's leadership role considerably easier to manage. Shortly after, a heavy rainstorm hit their area. Despite the weather, Rue and Kichi continued their intense training in the cave, leaving them thoroughly exhausted by the time they went to bed. That night, the former leader, still resentful of being replaced by someone he considered unworthy, decided to create trouble for Rue. Along with his accomplices, he sneaked into the cave where the human women were sleeping, with the intent to mistreat them. He was getting ready to have some sexy fun with them. However, Rao's special ability to sense danger alerted him to their plans. He swiftly intervened, using force to subdue the troublemakers. The leader was not happy that Rao stopped their fun. He thinks it was probably because Rue has no idea how much fun it is to get his freak on with a human woman, but Rao doesn't care and knocks him out anyway. After capturing all the misbehaving goblins, Rue apologized to the human women for waking them and reassured them, asking them to return to sleep. The red-haired woman, witnessing Rue's kindness and protective nature, was overcome with relief and happiness, and she began to cry. Rue then told Kichi and me to wake everyone in their group, as he wanted them all to see the consequences of such serious misconduct. With the entire group gathered, Rue administered a harsh punishment to the wrongdoers, making an example of them. One of the culprits was left hanging upside down until morning, ultimately dying, serving as a grim warning to the others about the severity of such actions. This incident solidified Rue's authority and demonstrated the importance of maintaining order and discipline within their community. The following day, Rao encounters a unicorn, and through effective teamwork, they manage to defeat it. Consuming the unicorn grants Rue new abilities, including rapid healing and a unique attack that strikes 3 times consecutively. These newfound powers not only bolster his strength as a leader, but also increase his attractiveness to the red-haired human girl, who begins to show a desire to be close to him. However, Rue remains oblivious to her true intentions, simply sleeping beside her without taking any further action. On the 33rd day, Rue wakes up to find both the red-haired girl and me in his bed. You could tell all the naughty things going through his mind at that moment, but he doesn't even try. What a loser. This unexpected situation leads him to ponder the possibility of having a group of admirers, despite being a goblin. The rigorous training continues, and Gao, who has also grown stronger, starts taking on more responsibilities and may even become part of Rue's group of admirers. Driven by the desire to test his limits, Rue ventures into the forest in search of tougher adversaries. He engages in combat with another unicorn, utilizing a powerful magic attack for the first time. His overwhelming strength makes him question whether he needs to become any stronger. Emboldened by his abilities, he delves deeper into the forest, where he discovers signs of a formidable red bear, an ominous creature his grandfather had warned him about. Before Rue can leave, a red bear blocks his way, ready to fight because Rue has entered its home area. Rue feels he must fight and beat the bear to get stronger, so he calls on his powerful magic spell, Thunder Spear, to defeat it. Meanwhile, Mai starts to worry because Rue hasn't come back yet and it's almost dark. She finds it strange because Rue is usually not late. She asks the others if they've seen him, but when no one knows where he is, Gobmi thinks Rue might be in trouble. And he is. Rue is having a hard time fighting the red bear. He manages to cut off the bear's right hand with the Thunder Spear, but the bear keeps fighting harder. Rue uses all his power in his next move and tries to hit the bear's neck with his axe, but it doesn't work because the bear's skin is too thick. Rue tries to stop the bear with spider threads, but it doesn't work and makes things worse. The bear gets so angry that it breathes fire, setting a big part of the northern forest on fire. Rue just makes it out of the bear's attack. He uses the time behind the fire to heal his wounds. Not sure what to do next, Rue decides to fight the bear directly, which turns out to be another mistake as he gets hit hard and is badly hurt. But with the power of friendship, like in anime, Rue defeats the red bear in style, but loses his left hand. He barely eats some of the bear's flesh before he faints. With the last ounce of strength in Gobro, he bites the hand that feeds him, and his stats get so buffed up that he gets a request to evolve into a rare ogre species. When Rue gets back to where the goblins live, he looks bigger and better than before. He tells everyone what happened, and even their leader is surprised. He says that Gao, who is only about a month old, has beaten the ruler of the North Forest and has become as strong as an ogre, which is not normal for a goblin. Rue isn't surprised that they're all amazed to see him. He leaves them and goes to change his clothes. He also wants to check on the humans. On his way, he meets the craftsman who looks at his weapon and is surprised it's broken. She also shows him a knife she made with a spirit soul, and he's happy to see how well everyone is doing on their own. Upon his return, he encounters the humans, whose expressions are a mix of astonishment and fear at witnessing his newfound strength. He takes a moment to calm their nerves, assuring them that despite his formidable appearance, he remains the ally they have always known and has no intention of causing them harm. The sight of their wide-eyed stares brings a chuckle to his lips. Their reactions strike him as comical in their intensity. During this exchange, he also has the pleasure of speaking with another human woman who recounts her experiences during his absence. Her achievements fill him with pride, and he affectionately ruffles her hair in commendation. When he gets her all excited and happy, the other girls now want a piece of Rue too. What a great life it must be. This much attention will definitely not go to his head. Before long, two of them are playfully vying for his attention, each grasping one of his legs in a light-hearted tug of war to draw him closer. Next, he visits the culinary team, where the chefs inform him of their need for additional assistance in the bustling kitchen. In response, he promises to enlist the aid of 2 female goblins to support their efforts. Chefs receive this news with delight, their faces lighting up in a charming display of gratitude. Rue finds himself taken aback by the chef's openness to collaborating with goblins, and he commends their remarkable adaptability. But this gives Rue another enticing idea. He now wants to marry the sisters, clearly impressed by their cooking skills. They seem into it too. They must come from a freaky family. But the others are now jealous because they want a piece of the new larger of Rue. Throughout the day, he indulges in lighthearted jests and playful antics with them, finding joy in the simple pleasures of their company. Later, he makes his way to the alchemist's laboratory, where he observes her deeply engrossed in her work, meticulously combining various chemicals. Upon discovering that one of her concoctions is a potent poison, he inquires about her intentions for such a dangerous substance. She explains that it was originally intended for self-defense, but she no longer sees the need for it as she now places her trust in a goblin to protect not only her own life, but the lives of the other humans as well. They engage in a lengthy conversation amidst the vials and beakers of her lab, but then he just picks her up, is reaching new levels of naughtiness because he can't seem to keep his hands off the females of the clan. Goblins must get to puberty quickly. The others are also trying to get his attention. It really does help to be tall. On his 36th day in the guise of a goblin, Rao dedicates himself to rigorous training alongside his goblin comrades. However, he soon comes to the sobering realization that he can no longer spar with them as they are weak as His strikes have become too powerful, threatening to shatter their armor and inflict serious injury with even the slightest contact. Even Gobkichi, one of the sturdiest among them, cannot withstand his blows. The training session leaves them all exhausted and battered, prompting Rue to employ his healing abilities to mend their wounds. Amidst this, he can't help but notice Kichi's sullen demeanor. Concerned, he approaches Gobkichi for insight, but Kichi dismisses it as nothing of consequence and departs for a hunting excursion. Despite Kichi's reassurance, reassurances, Rose senses an underlying issue that remains unaddressed. Stepping outside, Rose's gaze falls upon Gobi, who remains diligently excavating in search of spirit iron. His attention then shifts to the sight of Habat, a human, and Mai, a goblin, who are engaged in a joint hunting endeavor, their camaraderie evident in their shared laughter and contentment. This harmonious interaction between species fills him with a sense of pride for the peaceful coexistence flourishing within their community. On the following day, the 37th since his transformation, he settles down beside the alchemist, engaging in the delicate task of sewing. Their quietude is abruptly interrupted when Go bursts into the room, cradling an injured creature known as a carbuncle. She explains that she stumbled upon it while digging and fears for its life due to the substantial blood loss it has suffered. Rue, in his earnest attempt to mend her wounds, realizes that her survival hinges on an infusion of blood. The alchemist, with his expertise, steps in to administer a blood transfusion, ensuring her vitality is restored. They provide her with a tranquil environment to recuperate. Upon regaining consciousness, she finds herself bewildered by her surroundings. They gently explain the events that transpired, leading to her current state of recovery. Gratitude fills her as she acknowledges their aid. Introducing herself as Latana, she reveals her plight. She was gravely injured by human adventurers, coveting the luminous crystal adorning her head. As an ancient wizard possessing numerous gems, she understands the immense value of her crystal. Time is not on her side, and she implores them for assistance to thwart the adventurers' nefarious plans before her life reaches its twilight. Latana confides in them, expressing her belief that they, unlike humans, would honorably safeguard her abode of gems posthumously. She implores Rao to join her in repelling the adventurers' assault, yet Rue harbors no desire to spill blood. Instead, he wields a knife, a creation of the craftsman, not as a weapon, but as a deterrent against the humans. Stealthily, they infiltrate the castle through an aperture excavated by Go. Ro tactically conceals his comrades and boldly faces the intruders alone. He questions their morality, challenging their right to ravage another's domicile without consent. Unaware of Rue's identity, the humans resolve to eliminate him as a preemptive measure before they proceed to Latana. They launch an assault which Rue skillfully evades, all the while seeking a peaceful resolution through dialogue. However, when they resort to unleashing potent spells against him, Ro is compelled to defend himself. The confrontation escalates, resulting in Rue lethally subduing his assailants. In the aftermath, he consumes their remains, assimilating their abilities, and seizes their enchanted satchels and adornments. Subsequently, Rue accompanies Latana to her residence, adorned with gems. Meanwhile, an orphaned youth stirs from slumber, his latent powers unfurling to confront ancient beasts and shield humanity from looming perils. For those intrigued by the entirety of this saga, a link awaits in the pinned comment below, heralding the time for action. As Latana's form dissipates into the ether, she bequeaths to Rue a solitary red gemstone, a relic of immense worth known as velvet. Rue grapples with the notion of being worthy of such an esteemed treasure, but ultimately reconciles with accepting it. Eschewing the prospect of selling the gemstone, he ingests it instead, an act that bestows upon him a newfound prowess dubbed the Golden Rule. Kitchi enters, his concern palpable as he inquires after Gob's well-being, his affections for her coloring his tone. Gobi responds with an assurance of her fine state, her words reflecting her robust spirit. Rue gathers the goblin community and solemnly reminds them of Latana's valiant sacrifice, who perished in the act of shielding a precious gemstone. He proposes that the treasure amassed should be distributed amongst all, advocating for unity and fairness. To safeguard their collective wealth, he employs an enchanted container, ensuring its security through magical means. As the congregation disperses, Gobi lingers beside the remains of Velvet. Contrary to their kind's custom, Gobi abstains from consuming the body, opting instead to cremate it with dignity and reverence. Amidst the ashes, a solitary glove remains untouched by the flames. When Rao dons this glove, he initially experiences pain, but it soon integrates seamlessly into his arm. This transformation bestows upon him newfound abilities. His arm can now launch threads and excrete venom, adding to his arsenal of skills. In the aftermath of their triumph, the group indulges in a festive round of libations. Yet amidst the merriment, there's a collective acknowledgement that such indulgence in drink can be detrimental to one's health. Come morning, Rue delves into an examination of the extraordinary artifacts he has acquired, marveling at their formidable power. With a generous spirit, he distributes enchanted armaments among his comrades, enhancing their combat capabilities. For himself, he selects a crimson spear, its aura hinting at untold strength. He reveals that among his possessions are 3 artifacts of such immense might they possess the potential to bestow dominion over an entire nation upon their wielder. Ro dedicates himself to the rigorous training of his forces, instilling discipline and prowess within their ranks. Together, they embark on a hunting expedition, which culminates in the capture of a formidable bear. The prize is then transformed into a hearty soup, a testament to their collective effort. Amidst these communal activities, Ru's attention is drawn to a red-haired girl whose actions are marked by taking more than she contributes. He contemplates a fair approach to address this imbalance. In an effort to foster camaraderie and to identify a capable leader among the goblins, Ru orchestrates a tournament. It's an event filled with excitement and friendly competition. As their strength collectively grows, Ru envisions the formation of an elite squad tasked with confronting formidable adversaries. With this goal in mind, he ventures forth in search of mighty beasts, seeking to enhance his own strength through formidable challenges. Ru's first encounter with a new adversary leads him to a group of lustrous arachnids. He dispatches them with remarkable ease, filling them with a single decisive blow. In the aftermath, the spiders relinquish a trove of glistening remnants, which appear to hold considerable value. However, rather than capitalizing on these potentially lucrative spoils, the insatiable Meister Hungry forever consumes them, assimilating their essence and acquiring an array of impressive abilities in the process. Subsequently, Ru confronts a crimson deer, which he subdues without exerting much effort. In a display of his primal nature, he feasts upon its limb raw, undeterred by the absence of culinary preparation. Venturing deeper into the forest, Ru stumbles upon an enigmatic purple tree, the sanctuary of the Dryads, ethereal guardians of the woodland realm. He recalls a cautionary tale once shared with him, warning that Dryads are known to ensnare the intelligent with their enchantments, only to prey upon them, not to mention they will make you feel like an absolute legend when they get on top. Despite their alluring appearance, these beings harbor a potential threat beneath their beauty. A Dryad attempts to bewitch Rao with her extra-large charms. Any self-respecting male would definitely let her do whatever she wanted, even with the threat of death. She thought this was gonna be another easy target. She has no idea what he's packing in his pants. This Dryad wouldn't stop. They go on for hours with their sexy fun, getting her to want more. But Ru has to act all cool, trying to ignore his virgin energy from coming out. Persisting on his journey, he eventually stumbles upon a serene waterfall, an ideal spot for a refreshing bath. As he indulges in the tranquility, a horde of aggressive lizard creatures emerges, intent on confrontation. Despite their numbers, they are no match for his prowess, and one by one, they succumb to defeat. Triumphantly, Ru not only emerges victorious, but also gains new abilities from the encounter, including the skill to navigate and explore the depths of the water with ease. Upon Ru's return to his dwelling, he discovers that 2 youthful goblins have unlocked their magical potential. They eagerly align themselves with another goblin, already adept in arcane arts, forming a trio of mystical prowess. As the 43rd day dawns, Ru perceives a palpable tension among me and the other female admirers. Their demeanor towards him is noticeably soured. Seeking clarity, he consults the goblin knowledgeable in alchemy, who reveals the cause of their discontent. They have learned of his clandestine rendezvous with the Dryads, evidenced by the telltale kiss marks adorning him. But then the alchemist herself kisses too, telling him her feelings, getting me even more jealous. Well, now this isn't fair to the rest of the male goblins. Mai then comes up with the genius idea of wanting to get involved. But it's not just her. All the other girls want to be a part of the group fun. Is it just me, or are you guys starting to hate Rao and hope he dies too? On the morning of the 45th day, Ru awakens to find Gobi and the flame-haired girl resting beside him. A disturbance in the air alerts him to the approach of strangers near his village, and his instincts warn him of their formidable nature. Venturing outside, he is confronted by 3 naughty elves who demand the servitude of the goblins, coveting their unique treasures for human masters. The elven leader entices Ru with an offer of sustenance for months in exchange for his aid against the humans. However, Ru's principles stand firm. He refuses to yield to those who lack kindness and respect. The elven leader, harboring disdain for goblins, bristles with anger at Ru's defiance. Yet before he can act on his ire, Ru exudes an overwhelming aura of power, compelling the elf to involuntarily bow in submission. Seizing the moment, Rao detains the humbled leader and issues an ultimatum to the concealed elven troops: surrender peacefully if they wish to retain their freedom. Recognizing the futility of resistance against Ru's might, the elven soldiers lay down their arms, ceasing all hostilities. In a display of his formidable capabilities, Ru conjures an array of spears from the earth, wielding his magical spear with masterful control. The elves, witnessing this show of strength, realize that no words will sway their predicament. With no options left, they retreat hastily. Rue observes their departure, confident in the knowledge that his display of power has ensured they will not dare to trouble him again. On the following morning, Rue engages in combat with a group of gray slimes. During the battle, he acquires new defensive abilities by consuming the magical hearts of the defeated slimes. In addition to this, he discovers an innovative technique to create duplicates of himself using his own blood. These clones are under his command, and he devises a strategy to employ them as scouts to gather intelligence on his adversaries discreetly. Furthermore, he utilizes his blood clones to craft garments for the human members of his group, which brings joy and satisfaction to all the female members. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more, and check out some of our other series shown on screen now.